Today we're going to talk about future boardrooms because the future boardrooms are going to look like that. They'll have a robot in there for sure, an AI-driven robot. It'll be gender balanced and it'll be much, much younger. Those are the key drivers of the future, and that's why we have three young people here who are our potential board members for the future. The first on our left is Aya Sadar. She's the incubator manager for Intersect. She's a super bright young person. Seen her developing and evolving over the last 2, 3, 4 years, and highly respectful to the kind of achievements that she's had. Harsh Sajnani, he is a mathematician, statistician, and now he's working in a fashion company. So what a, go figure. And Sena, she was one of the graduates of the CEO for a Day program in Turkey. Out of 10,000 students, they brought her down to about 20, and she was one of them, and we'll share her experiences too. Harsh, may I just start with you first, because you've done this before, you've seen this before. Mathematician, statistician, working in fashion. Dude, what's up?
Well, thank you firstly for having me here, and thank you everyone for coming. Well, I grew up in Dubai, and I studied business maths and stats at the LSE in London, and after that I actually worked in aircraft leasing, which was more suited to what I studied. It was a lot of fun and everything was great, and I really enjoyed the work I was doing. It was very, very fun because I could work a lot with numbers. 6 months in, I realized that I needed a bit more of a kick from what I was actually doing. I needed some more job responsibility. I wanted to feel more like I was actually the one driving the change. I joined the family business, which was predominantly based in fashion, and currently now we are doing fashion distribution, working with international brands and building them in the Middle East. So that is a new division.
I actually studied entrepreneurship at Babson. And,
so you went straight through.
And I actually ended up changing careers.
Okay, what's next for you? What's your master's degree, and how do you take things forward for yourself?
I believe I actually will not do my master's, nor my MBA. Okay. Neither of those would make so much sense for me since I teach entrepreneurship. I work with some of the brightest minds. Okay. So I feel like every day is an MBA, to be honest.
Sena, bringing you in, you're a young brand ambassador, CEO for a Day. If you were a CEO for a Day for Abdul Latif Jamil, who's here, what would you ask Nilofer Hanum to do that one day?
Well, I think that one of the most important elements of a company, of our world actually, is diversity. So I would ask whether the company is diverse enough, not only gender-wise, but also ethnicity-wise and age-wise. As we talk, we need more younger people in our boards now. So this is one of the things, and also whether the company is responsible for environmental challenges, which is problem of our world, the most important problem of our world.
One of the things that we are working on is what I call the 60-40-20 rule. The 60-year-olds are making decisions for 40-year-olds to execute and 20-year-olds, people here, to consume. In this environment, Aya, what do you think the kind of contribution you can make to a board?
I'll give an example actually. So we had, GE had a software called Predix. I don't know if many of you are familiar with it. It's sort of like the IBM Watson. I had a startup called Dupes delivering your bags to the airport, and they were managing most of their baggage delivery on a tech platform. So they had met the Predix team, and then they said, we're not interested. So that exact user insight, we used it for the guys who are 65 years old in the States to understand what's the usability of their actual tech platform. That way you get fast response on what's happening, and you're able to comprehend how people can actually use this product. Using that, they can actually, let's say, edit the future, right? So if you get people to use your product and understanding that they were your demographic, their feedback is the most valuable thing when you're trying to develop a successful one.
And this is the kind of stuff, Sena, that you are doing, is that you get fast-tracked while you're graduating to go and make big decisions. When you go in there, do you feel that the oldies are ready for you? Excluding me, of course.
Well, that's why exactly I'm here, actually. So I want to share the story how I ended up here and working with you, being your young ambassador for Math Talks. I remember that we had a meeting with some of the huge companies of Turkey, and Tariq Bey was invited as a guest. And so those CEOs, we were going to match with them and spend a day, and he wasn't one of those CEOs as he was a guest. And they're all sharing their stories about the companies and stuff. And at some point he asked the question whether they're future ready or not. And seeing them struggle with that question made me think that Tariq should be the person I should be working with to be future ready, as we share the very similar values. I know that trust, empathy, and harmony will be defining the future.
Harsh, when you came in, did your dad freak out when you started doing new stuff?
Oh my God.
Was he ready for the kind of change you were about to bring in?
So the thing is that, right, I mean, kudos to my dad. He built an established business, ran it for 30 years, and I definitely take a lot from him, and I learn a lot every day just being there. But the one thing that I would say that for millennials to come into an established business that's been running for, I mean, some of those companies have been running for more than 100 years, to come in and kind of just say that I want this, I want flying jets over here, people are going to travel by Hyperloop, is a bit unrealistic. And like, as much as it's idealistic and you would want it, the implementation is something that you need to be able to converse with someone who's been doing the same line for a certain number of time and kind of put it in their language. At the end of the day, you're not going to speak someone in English language to a supplier in in China, because he just wouldn't understand exactly what you want and exactly what you want to do. So in terms of that, I would say the way that how me and my dad, we had a very, very very smooth sailing system where any sort of thing that I wanted to do, I would need to firstly logically explain it to him and have that debate with him and get the buy-in of, since he is the CEO, get the buy-in of every single person at the ground level, all the way to the top, one-on-one, understand the entire process, and then be able to present it to him. After which, then I would have his approval to run it on the side and kind of test my concept until it was ready to be able to implement it across the organization.
So what we're doing as part of this is putting together about 100 people, 100 young, smart people like them, assertive, focused, driven, and then they will start being matched. Rather than the CEO for a day program that you were being matched by CEOs, this group is going to be matched by other boards. So Emirates Airlines will have a board, DP World will have a board, and we are going to put forward people like you and say, this is your future board, reporting directly, cutting through the crap, which is the existing board, because they are too defensive in nature. Last comment, one takeaway for us.
Well, I'm hoping to see companies and having more young people on their boards, and while thinking of their profit, not losing the human touch, not losing the emotions in their work. And I think that's going to define our future.
I definitely think it works, because like in the business environment today, you'd see a lot of the companies, they're kind of they need to trim the fat, and I feel like things could be a lot more lean, process could be a lot more optimized, things could be a lot more faster, data driven, and sort of automated. What I do feel what's important about all of these boards is a mutual understanding about the fact that as soon as this thing starts happening, there needs to be a sort of a mutual empathy from both sides to kind of, maybe I'm not going to take your advice today from the board side, I'm not going to take the millennials' advice today, but at least let me hear the guy out.
I believe in future boardrooms, including younger people. I believe that the answer is with the next generation. So I personally mentor a lot of young students because I believe they will be at the forefront of change more than I will be.
Are you mentoring the older ones? You should be.
No.
No? Right. That actually is the big shift, and I think that is where the mutual mentoring comes in. You mentor the older ones, they'll mentor you. You mentor them for technology, users, experience, and so on, and they will mentor you for context and experience. And I think that's part of the solution we have. Thank you for coming, and big hand for these young people.